Welcome back to the Horse Racing Network with me, Izzy Phillips, and I'm joined as always by racing broadcaster and journalist Paul Auster, and we're going to be taking a look ahead to days 3, 4 and 5 of the glorious Goodwood meeting. Paul, there's some really exciting races coming up on the next few days, day 3, 4, 5, so that's the Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Are there any that you're really looking forward to?
I think, well, all of it really, to be honest. I think the thing about Glorious Goodwood, and it's the same with Royal Ascot as well, and the York meeting that'll be coming up next month. It's about pacing yourself, you know. You just got to be sensible and be selective with your bets, not to go all in over the first day or the first 2 days. And as we'll see, depending on how the weather pans out, it's going to be worth just taking your time and being sure that the horses you're betting are going to be acting on whatever the conditions are going to be. But great racing each and every day at Glorious Goodwood.
Well, as we said at the start of our podcast for day 1 and 2, there is a little bit of rain predicted on the Tuesday, a chance of rain on some Thursday and potentially some thundery showers later in the week. Thursday seems generally quite hot, but there's a higher chance of precipitation around sort of 10 to 4. So for most of the race day, obviously if that does come, that could have an impact on the going. But generally the weather on Friday and Saturday looks pretty much sunny and clear, not much chance of rain there at all. So you could be looking at a slightly firmer going by Friday and Saturday, almost definitely firmer if that rain predicted on Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday doesn't actually transpire. So something like you say, Paul, to keep your eye on, make sure that you are checking that your horse does like the going and perhaps not going all in too soon. But we begin day 3 with the Thursday, and we'll be looking first at the Nassau Stakes. And in here we've got a popular Aidan O'Brien horse in Well at the top of the market. You've then got See the Fire for Andrew Baldin and Oisin Murphy. You've also still got Bedtime Story with an entry here. Cecine has also got an entry for Gary Carroll, Fallen Angel for Wafnan, Running Lion, the old Running Lion as well, and Dare to Dream. So quite a small field. Well, 6 to 4. Will you be taking her on, Paul?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I will be. First of all, we don't have the final deck, so there could be less than the 7 runners, Izzy, of course. You know, we could end up with 4 or 5 in this race. Aidan O'Brien's got Whirl potentially and Bedtime Story. And both of these very, very smart fillies. Whirl's victory over Kalpana couldn't have been franked any better, with Kalpana running a tremendous race in the King George on Saturday. So that form looks rock solid, really, and it was second in the Oaks the time before. And I think it'll be hard to beat if it shows up. See the Fire is the best of the older horses for Andrew Balding. The way she won at York in the Middleton Stakes by 12 lengths, where she murdered Beautiful Love, suggested that she was going to have a sensational season. And she didn't run at all badly when she was third to Ombudsman at Ascot in the Prince of Wales's stakes. And you could argue that this, even though it's another Group 1, it is a slight drop in class because this is a fillies only race. So See the Fire will be a proper test if she turns up to take on Whirl. Bedtime Story, a good second last time out in the French Oaks, was a step forward on what she'd done the time before. But I think the fascinating runner is the Irish filly, the other Irish filly, Cecine, for Joseph Murphy, because she beat Zaragana in the Coronation Stakes. That was over the stiff round mile at Ascot, but she's got to go 2 furlongs further. If she were to stay, she could really put a spanner in the works. So I think a fascinating race. On balance, possibly I'd come down just on the side of Whirl, but for me, this might be a race more to watch than to get heavily involved in from a betting point of view.
I have a slightly different view. I really like the look of Fallen Angel. Obviously, if she runs, she's very likely to have James Doyle dropped up for Wafnan. But I just felt that her run in the Lockinge wasn't actually a bad run, and I felt that she would come on for that run. And I personally think she did when she ran in the Duke of Cambridge then at Ascot. And obviously she was third there. First was Crimson Advocate and second was Cinderella's Dream. Again, the form franked quite nicely when they've turned out next time. So for me, I think Fallen Angels perhaps got a really good chance. She was as big as 16. She's been backed into 12s. So that's probably where I'll be going for this race. But it does look a very, very good race, actually. Even though a small field, I think it could be really quite an interesting one, especially when we see who kind of finally goes. So fingers crossed, Fallen Angel stays in the field, because that's where I will be going with my bet. Once we've taken a look at the Thursday, we're going to be taking a look at the races on Friday, and we're going to be starting things off here with the King George Qatar Stakes. That's another King George Paul, but we've got an international raider at the top of the market, and good old Asphora is back. We have got Oisin Murphy on board. You've then got Big Mojo, Time for Sandals, Frost at Dawn, another Wafnan runner this week in Night Raider, She's Quality, Get It, Kurdos. Good old Cardem has got an entry here as well for Charlie Hills. Town and Country, Celadine, JM Jungle, potentially with an entry here. No jockey yet. And obviously at the time of recording, we haven't got final declarations. We've also got Spartan Arrow, Clarendon House, Enchanting, 7 Questions, and Manor Khan. So a very exciting field. Most of these look likely to run and have jockeys booked, Paul. So perhaps a pretty good field for this King George Qatar Stakes. But can any of them beat Asphora at the top of the market?
I think so. Yeah, I think Asphora is there to be taken on. I mean, a very good international raider, Asphora, been doing well in Australia. Although in Australia, it's not even rated in the top sort of 10 sprinters apparently. So it does say something about the level of our sprinting in Europe. But beaten 2 lengths at Ascot last time by American Affair. Didn't appear to have any excuses. I suppose this faster track will suit, but we've got a real burn-up in store here, Izzy, if they all show up, because Big Mojo can tankle on as well. He'll probably just stalk the pace. Just beaten a neck at Newmarket last time out in the July Cup. I don't think the drop back in trip will be a problem for him. You've got Time for Sandals, who, of course, won the Commonwealth Cup over 6 furlongs. Whether it'll be quite as well suited by the 5, I'm not sure. Frost at Dawn was only beaten a neck, of course, finished ahead of Asphora in the King Charles III Stakes, the Group 1 at Ascot. And then you've got 1 or 2 very interesting runners. If it goes, Get It will be fascinating because, of course, it's won a Stewards Cup at the track. And, of course, it won the Wokingham last time, and it won both those races with blistering early pace, getting the others flat to the boards after just 2 furlongs. So coming down the hill at Goodwood, if Get It goes for this in preference to the Stewards Cup, then it could be a real tremendous tussle up front with the likes of Asphora through the first 3 or 4 furlongs. I think this is a race that might end up being set up for a closer. And amongst those that like to come from off the pace is the old boy that you mentioned there, Cardem. And I was, he's 9 years old, is Cardem, but when he puts his best foot forward, he's a cracking sprinter. And Charles Hills has already booked Ryan Moore. So 20 to 1 shot Cardem. And it was his first run for about 9 months when he was 6 to Rage of Bambi at Newbury the other day. I could well see him coming on for that and running really well here. So he might be a sporting each way bet in the race if he takes his chance. And also a quick word about the filly, She's Quality, the Irish filly, another one that likes to go really fast early doors. I think this is going to be a proper spectacle. I think we'll be seeing some tremendous sights in this race as they come hurtling down the hill. It could be one of the races of the week.
Do you think that the finish could almost emulate the finish that we got in 2024 when Asphora was beaten into second by Big Ev? You could have the same again here with those same colours for Big Mojo. Very unlucky in running at Ascot, and then absolutely flew in the July Cup last time against no half measures. So, when he's got a clear run, Big Mojo could absolutely be there. So it's not hard to see why he's quite well fancied. And that finish with those same 2 silks could play out again. Obviously, different horse this time around, but be interesting to see. And obviously, you know, Paul, Cardem is one of my favourite horses. My two biggest ever wins have come on Cardem at those huge odds when he won those races and back-to-back years at Royal Ascot. So I will absolutely be getting involved with an each way play at around 20s. I think this is a fantastic price. And a very attractive jockey booking with Ryan Moore. Obviously, you would always be happy to have him on board. But I think for me, actually, one of the most exciting races of the week, because you look like you've got a really big field here and it's very, very competitive. So one that I'm really, really looking forward to on Friday. That'll be Good Friday feeling if you can get the winner of the King George Qatar Stakes, that's for certain. And then we're going to take a little look ahead to the Saturday's racing. Now, bear in mind, we're even further from the declarations here, but we are going to take a little look first at the Lily Langtry Stakes, where there's a very popular horse having a bit of an unbeaten run for Joseph O'Brien, with Goody Two Shoes at the top of the market. You've got quite a few still left in here. You've got Scenic, Shahar, Term of Endearment. You've got some really interesting fillies and mares. You've got the likes of Danielle. You've also got the Irish Guineas winner you got to meet in this field at 16-1 at the minute, Paul. But is there any that kind of jump out at you that you think, right, she could take advantage of this field and take this race?
Well, I think the one that I think you're guaranteed to get a good run from, as long as she lines up, of course, is Term of Endearment, who won the race 12 months ago for William Haggis. Proved too good for them on pretty quick ground last year. So I don't think this one would want any rain. This is where we said at the top of this particular piece that you need to keep an eye on the ground, because if the ground, goes drastically, turns up soft, then it might not suit her. She has won on good to soft in the past, but if they have a real cloudburst and it comes up muddy, Term of Endearment wouldn't probably be suited. But even though she was last of 4 at Sandown just a few weeks ago, she was only beaten just over 2 lengths, and that was over 2 miles in the race won by Coltrane. On her previous run, she'd just been beaten ahead by Scenic, who may well run again here for the Ed Walker stable. And so I think this is a horse that knows how to handle this very unique track. This seems to be her time of year, and I could see her going well. You pointed out quite rightly, Izzy, in your introduction to this race, that there has been money around for Goody Two Shoes. And when it comes, we assume, from the quarters of the owner, J.P. McManus, who's probably the most successful gambler there's been in modern history of racing, then you have to sit up and take notice, because this filly on the figures has got a little bit to find. But they obviously feel that she's improving. They've progressed her through listed races, a Group 3 last time. She's won all. She's on a 4-timer here. They obviously feel she's going the right way. And the bookies have already taken plenty by the looks of things, and they're not taking too many chances. So Goody Two Shoes, I think, could be one to fear. Whether she'd be at home if the rain stays away and it comes up quite quick, I'm not sure. But she would likely run her race if she shows up. But Term of Endearment, for me, I think is one very much to keep an eye on. You also mentioned the Irish Oaks winner of last year, You Got To Me, who went on to finish second in the Yorkshire Oaks as well. She seemed to have completely lost her way this season, well beaten in that race at Epsom, the Coronation Cup, having been last of 7 at the end of last season in the Ledger. Has she trained on? Why have they kept her in training? If she has trained on and she just maybe had a bad day and a genuine excuse at Epsom, she would be a very big prize for a Group 1 winner in this field, a horse that's proven at this level and higher. She's actually dropping in class to the Group 2.
Yeah, I think she's very interesting with the fact that she's dropping down in class. Like you say, they must be seeing something in her that they think they want to keep her in here. So I'll be keeping an eye on the declarations to see if she is in the final field, because I think she could be a very interesting runner. I particularly do like the look of Goody Two Shoes, though. And a big part of the reason for that is in the last 14 days, Joseph O'Brien's had 22 winners. Out of 73 runners, that's putting him at a 30% strike rate. So he is not messing around coming into this glorious Goodwood festival. And I'm really quite excited. I think that the price will only shorten on Goody Two Shoes going into the weekend. I think will be a very, very popular horse. I mentioned in my introduction the horse Danielle, and I obviously have spoken quite a bit about the form of the Gosdens across our two podcasts, and obviously they're at 35% strike rate. An interesting runner. The reason I say that is because she hasn't had a run for 266 days, and obviously when we did see her, she was very much a bit of a hype horse, and people were really looking forward to her. So I'd be interested to see how she comes back after that break, and the same with Fairy Glen for Simon and Ed Crisford. That would be her first run for 296 days, and she'd been showing some pretty good form prior to that as well. So there's a couple of runners there that if they are able to come back fresh, they could be very exciting. So a field I will certainly be keeping a close eye on going into the declaration stage, but some exciting racing on Saturday, and that continues with the classic the Stewards Cup. I'm going to caveat this introduction by just saying that there are still currently 99 runners. So I think the best thing here to do, Paul, is for you to let us know the ones that stand out to you.
Well, there you are. You've thrown the ball very much into my court here, Izzy, and good on you. Well, they're betting 12 to 1 the field, apart from Al Marak, if that one runs. But I'm not sure it's going to run. Did William Haggas said it wasn't going to run? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But there's been money for it, so maybe they've had a change of heart, because this thing bolted up first time in a handicap at Ayr 12 days ago. It ran off 90. And it won by 5 lengths, and it's probably due to go up a stone. So if Badri were to show up, then it would be a very interesting runner. But let's be fair, that a race at Ayr, a Class 3, against the Stewards Cup, where you've got the draw involved as well. You don't know what side it's going to be drawn. You don't know if there's a draw bias. We'll have found out by Saturday if there is a draw bias. Seems a silly price, really, 5 to 1, but maybe it is a Group 1 sprinter in the making. What I would say that we've got the potential of so many old favourites running here. I mentioned that George Baker is toying with running Get It in the King George the day before, because there is a suspicion that there could be rain that could really soften the ground for Saturday, in which case Get It would not run. And if he sees it's going to be drier, he would run last year's winner in the King George. So we'll learn more about whether that one's going to go. Double Rush, I think, is an interesting runner for Charles Hills, but I'm not sure it's going to get in. It's way down the list. And Holcombe Bay is one I could see going really well for William Knight. That will get in. It's only number 28 on the list, and didn't get the best of runs last time out. That was at Ascot, but had previously been fourth to Get It in the Wokingham, and that's a really good trial, of course, for this particular race. One who won really nicely on Saturday over 7 furlongs was Two Tribes, that one at Ascot. Got a £6 penalty. If that manages to get in, it could go particularly well. And then the one other horse that I think is worth keeping an eye on here is Killian, who is trained by Archie Watson, who was second in a listed race at Hamburg about 4 weeks ago. Has been competing all over the place at Meydan, Longchamp, Baden, Hamburg, but it's a pretty smart handicapper, is Killian. And Archie Watson's a trainer I like very much in these type of races. So those would be 3 for you to consider in what's going to be a very, very tough race as always. And the market tends to flag 1 or 2 of them up. What about you, Izzy? 99 runners. Give us the winner.
Well, you were absolutely right about Almerac. William Haggas has said that it's very unlikely that Almerac will, make it a quick turnaround, because I think he won at Ayr last Monday, was it? And I think that they've said that he certainly won't be making an appearance. But like you say, there's a lot of questions around George Baker's Get It. He's saying he's waiting to see the go-in, because he's also got the double entry on with a race on Friday. So I think he's going to basically finalise his decision based on the ground. I don't know. I think it's really interesting, because there's obviously a few. There's obviously a few towards the top of the market that we have that benefit of recency, you know, likes of Elmanjed only just won at the weekend. So it can be quite easy to perhaps get carried away with that. I'd probably want to see whether there is a draw bias before I make my decision. But I'm certainly keeping an eye on Elmanjed and Hammer the Hammer for me. But I wonder, Paul, you didn't mention a Ramran, and I know that he's a horse that you have a bit of a soft spot for. Do you think he's got a chance at all? He's currently number 26, obviously beaten favourite last time. Would you be giving him another chance here?
Well, I think that I probably would not be supporting him this time because he ran on Saturday, didn't he? I think at Ascot, and he didn't run particularly well. He's been, asked to go to the well many times this season. He's run in a lot of very good handicaps. I just wonder if maybe he's done enough for the time being. But I just want to go back to the point about Almerac. First of all, it's number 94 on the list of 99. So the chances of it getting in the race, even if they wanted to run, are very slim. And the fact that the trainer said he's not going to run makes you wonder what the bookies are up to, making it 5-1 clear favourite and 12-1 bar. I mean, is it a bit disingenuous on the part of the bookmakers, or are they, thinking that maybe we could have a kind of a binocular scenario as we had not that many years ago with Nicky Henderson when he said binocular wouldn't run in the champion hurdle and it went out to 100-1 on the exchanges, and then he changed his mind, it ran and won. And maybe the bookies are just being a little bit circumspect. But to me, to have a horse clear favourite in one of the hottest handicaps of the year, that is 94 of 99, and the trainer says it's not going to run, is a bit of a puzzle.
It's
I'm not so sure it
interesting,
does
isn't
us
it?
any favours. Yeah. I wonder what they're
Yeah.
up to.
Well, equally so, because he's got Elmanjed in the field, who won this weekend and likely will run. So, and is number 14. You would you would be a bit confused as to why those places weren't reversed, with Elmanjed
exactly.
being 5-1 favourite and Almerac being out at 12s or something, But yes, it does make you wonder. It's certainly something we'll be keeping an eye on going into the weekend, that's for sure. There could be some sneaky business going on there, but only time will tell. Are there any other races that catch your eye across the final 3 days of the meeting, Paul? Any runners that you're sort of lining up? I know you like a big price in a handicap, so have you got anything for us?
Well, as you mentioned, we don't know the final declaration, so it's purely speculative at the moment. One horse who's been knocking on the door and I think deserves a win in a decent handicap is Parole d'Oro, who's a potential runner in the Thursday opening race, the 1.25 mile handicap. And I see they've already booked Ryan Moore very early for him. So if he goes, he'd be of interest on the Thursday. The Golden Mile is another big betting race of the week at Glorious Goodwood. That's on Friday. Last year's winner, Toy Me Son, is only £5 higher this year. And it wouldn't surprise me to see him go really well. The old horses for courses adage is very, very relevant to Goodwood as much as anywhere. So I think Toy Me Son could be very interesting if he does take his chance in the Golden Mile on Friday.
Well, there we go. So we have a couple of fancies there. It's slightly bigger prices in some of the handicap races for later in the week. But that is all we have time for our Glorious Goodwood Part 2, Days 3, 4 and 5 preview. Thanks so much for sticking with us till the end. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and good luck with all your bets. And we'll see you after Glorious Goodwood.